All right, what's up, everyone? This is the Awesemo.com NHL Hit the Ice show. Going solo today because it is a short slate. We are going to talk through each of the three games and then get to hopefully making some unique lineup constructions and using the Awesemo.com lineup builder. We'll probably have Awesemo's ranks in there at some point as well. We can maybe mess around with Fantasy Cruncher. I know people want to talk about FanDuel crunches. I played there last night for the first time in a while and made some pretty costly mistakes, actually. So just not used to the format. Left a lot of salary when I shouldn't have. So that was a little bit frustrating, but ended up being a pretty successful night despite not doing so well in the main slate. Had a good late slate, and I wasn't even that tilted, but I just entered the late slate randomly and won everything back and a little bit more. So it was nice. I missed out on the $5 on DraftKings, and I really wanted to play it. So that was also really frustrating. So I had to go over to FanDuel. But did you have any auto exposure last night? Yes, I did. I had a bunch of Ottawa on FanDuel, and I had a bunch of Ottawa with Shabbat, and I just couldn't get the right combo. And that was because I think I set my cap at like $2,000 or $3,000 below the limit. Just completely forgot that it was $55,000 on FanDuel and not $50K like it is on DraftKings. So just kind of a mental error there led to me probably costing myself a lot of money, because I'm pretty sure I would have been on whatever the nuts was. I mean, I had a bunch of auto ones still, but couldn't get up to the expensive stacks. So yeah, Shabbat is a beast. Yeah, dude, that guy, he had like 9 or 10 shots on goal, something like that. And we were kind of laughing at his price. And then we kind of realized he did earn that price. I mean, he was just like all of a sudden you'd look up and he'd have another 2 shots on goal. And I don't know what he ended up on DK with, but he absolutely crushed. So yeah, Shabbat. I don't know. Is he the new Brent Burns? Like, what's going on there? But Ottawa, after getting down 2-0, they looked pretty good. They kind of dominated after that. So it's pretty surprising to see. FanDuel refuses to raise his price. Yeah, take advantage then. If he's going to be playing 25 minutes and shooting at the rate he is and getting power play time and seeing a lot of time with the Duchesne line, then sure. I like Mark Stone a ton. Is this the game that Pittsburgh's offense gets going? They have been struggling lately. Pitt and Washington are usually high scoring. I don't know. I mean, I don't look at what teams usually do when they play against each other just because the sample sizes are so short year to year. But, I mean, you would think this would be a good spot for Pittsburgh to get going here. They switched up their lines a ton, so we'll talk about that as we get going. Nolan Kelly wrote up a really nice article, as he does almost every day, about line changes. So I'm going to share that in chat actually right now. He writes this up almost every day, like I said. It just highlights who's moving around to where, because on bigger slates and even on smaller ones like this one, it's kind of hard to keep track of where everyone's at if you don't have the time to be on Twitter all day. So I'm going to post this in chat right now. You guys can check that out. Take a sip of water here. And we're going to get going. I should probably post this link in chat. I always forget to do that. I did remember to pull up the DraftKings pricing on the lineup builder, so I'm pretty proud of myself for that. All right. Getting messages here, of course, because right when I go live, that's when everyone decides they want to hear from me. And by everyone, I mean like 2 people. All right, let me post this in chat, in our premium Slack chat, and then we'll get going. If you want to be part of the premium Slack chat, you guys can use promo code HITTHEICE. You get a free week of premium chat. So you have access to me, Homer Cleese, Vots, Chris Wassel, Tom pops in there, Tom JK. 321, I believe, is his handle. You see him at the top of every leaderboard, seemingly every night for NHL. So he's in there. Alex is in there. Awesemo, as you guys know him. And it's a pretty good time in chat. We've got a lot of sharp subscribers as well. A lot of people that have both DFS and just hockey knowledge. So it's always a fun time in that premium chat. And if you want to use promo code Hit the Ice, you get Fantasy Cruncher, the lineup builder, Awesemo's rankings, my projections, all for an entire week. So try it out. You'll get a few big slates in there. You get a few smaller slates in there. Fantasy Cruncher is one of the best tools in all of the industry. And this is a good way to see if you like it, see if it's for you. I bet you will not be disappointed because I certainly have not been. All right. What else do we got here? Actually got a decent crowd in here today. Surprising. But let's talk about the first game of the night, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Washington Capitals. We have Casey DeSmith going up against likely Braden Holtby. I'm going to check right now to see if he's confirmed, but last I saw, he's likely. So a pretty good chance that it is going to be Holtby. Doesn't really make a difference that much for me. This one should have a lot of scoring chances both ways. Mentioned the Pittsburgh lines being changed off the top of the show. Looking at Nolan's article, you've got Jake Gensel being moved off the top line. He's going to skate with Riley Shannon and Phil Kessel in the third. Patrick Hornquist moves up with Malkin and Hagelin. That's a line I'm super interested in. And then the Crosby line, I liked him with Simon and Gensel, or Simone. Is it Simone? I think it's Simone and Gensel. But now with Rust and Simone, I don't know. It just takes away some of the luster that I had with Gensel. I like Gensel and Crosby together. The power plays are all mixed up as well. So you've got Kessel with Malkin and Hornquist, and then Rust and Oli Mata as the power play quarterback. I don't know. I mean, who knows if they stick to these power play lines? It looks like they're going to probably stick to these even strength lines, provided they don't get run off the ice once again, like they did a couple nights ago at home. They're not a great defensive team, as we know. I mean, let's see. Oh, Brett's in chat. Decent crowd, which 2 likes. Thumbs up below helps out a ton. Yeah, if you guys want to give us a like, that would really be helpful as well. The few of you that are in here. Actually, we got a decent crowd. It's growing. Good to see on a shorter slate. Maybe people are tired of losing in NBA. All those damn late scratches. I've heard about them. I haven't been bit by them yet in my limited time playing NBA DFS. All right. So as far as Pittsburgh lines go, full stacks, it's pretty easily the second line for me. Malkin, Hornquist, and Hagelin. Not the biggest Hagelin fan, but he usually does get lower ownership, and he's just so cheap that he brings down the price of the line even more. Malkin and Hornquist together aren't even that expensive, and then you probably want to pair them with Oli Mata for the power play exposure. I think you can play Letang with any line if you're going to full line stacks on Pittsburgh. Your projection on Crosby is low, but Cruncher is giving me a ton. Is that right? I don't know. What do I have Crosby projected for? I don't have it up right now. Yeah, he usually comes in. He rarely shows up for me on Cruncher when I plug in my projections, just because he doesn't shoot a ton, and he creates a lot of good chances. But maybe he's someone that I need to 3.82 on DK. That's pretty low. He might get bumped up a little bit, but with those line mates, I don't really think that's an unfair projection. I don't know. Maybe I'll look at that a little bit more. But yeah, he's usually a little bit lower than what Cruncher is giving you. He's got massive upside. I mean, he can score 2-3 goals if he's seeking out shots. That's always the question, right? But Malkin Hornquist, I think, is easily my favorite stack on Pittsburgh. That's not a hot take at all. Um, I loaded a bunch of line data before this, but I don't have it from last year. I'm pretty sure that the third line of Sheehan, Gensel, and Kessel was very bad defensively. Offensively, I can't remember, so I'm going to look this up quick. Riley Sheehan, where's he at? All right, there we go. I'm just going on natural stat trick. If people don't know, that's what I use for the line matching. It's what I use for my line data, pretty much all my data. All right, let's see. We'll go to rates. Yeah, pretty poor defensively. Good offensively, though. So if you're looking to get even cheaper than that second line, it's not even that much cheaper, but if you're looking for a little bit of savings, I think the third line is fine. You know, the Crosby line, whatever. I just don't like how it's constructed. I would have interest in Crosby, Simone, if you're going with Letang. But that's really about it. Full stacks, I'm probably going to stick to the second line for Pittsburgh. On the Capitals side, this seems like a really solid spot once again for Kuznetsov and Ovechkin. They were successful in their first go-around with Dmitry Yaskin on the top line. Bunch of high danger chances, bunch of scoring chances. Didn't give up a ton. I mean, short sample. I can't remember who they were playing. Maybe McDavid. In fact, I think it was McDavid because we were kind of scratching our heads at the Kuznetsov line, seeing a bunch of time against them, or at least that's what the coach said. Or that was his reasoning for putting Yaskin on the top line. Anyways, so I like the top line for the Capitals. Ovi and Kuznetsov are always in play, as is Karlsson. Just so lethal on the power play, but I like the savings you get with the second line, Backstrom, Oshie, Stevenson, and they're probably going to see a bunch of time against Crosby, Dominic Simone, and Brian Rust. They're probably going to see some time against Malkin and Hornquist too. And I probably like them a little bit less now that Rust is on that top line and not Gensel. The Washington too, the Backstrom line, but I still do like them. I think the Washington power play is more than in play if you can afford them. That's always the question, right? Can you afford them? I think you probably can make it work tonight. There are some cheap lines elsewhere, even though it is a short slate. So sticking to the second line I like as a full stack. I think Yaskin's going to come in probably a little bit overowned for his offensive ability, but he does make that line cheap, so there is something to be said for that, I suppose. How do you do that on Cruncher to not play a specific line within a team? I'm not sure I know what you mean. Not play a specific line within a team. I don't know. Put that in a different way, Gary. I can probably help you with that, but it's just not clicking in my brain. It's probably on my end, not yours. So Karlsson is the guy I prefer. He does correlate really well to Kuznetsov and Ovechkin because they're going to play a ton together at even strength. They're all going to be on the power play, of course, but he's the guy I'm looking to, whether I'm stacking the top or the second line for Washington. Goalies here, I mean, I'm just going to correlate for the most part. I'm kind of with Steve in that I don't want to play a ton of goalies against Washington, just in general. It is a 3-game slate, so I'm probably going to have some DeSmith. I will begrudgingly have some Braden Holtby at 8,200. I hate that price, but there's only 6 goalies, and if I'm making a handful of lineups, which I expect to do tonight, I did enter tournaments before the show, like a responsible DFS player. I won't get burned by missing out on a tournament I want to play again, at least not this week. So I'm going to have exposure to every goalie. It's probably not smart for me to say that I'm fading a goalie because I'm almost certainly going to have exposure to every single one of them, and it's going to be in the form of correlating with a stack that I'm playing. So we're probably ready to move on. Don't really like the third line all that much for the Capitals. Even though they are cheap, they all get power play time. I just much prefer that top power play stack if you can afford it. All right, Nashville Predators against the Colorado Avalanche. to make sure Cruncher doesn't give you Pit 1 in a stack. There are a couple ways you could do that. You could lower the projection for Pittsburgh 1. You could uncheck them so that you're just like there's literally no chance that you could get them in a crunch. So here, let me pull up Cruncher here. Here are my projections. We'll just do this really quick. We got time, Gary. We'll go to, oh, that's not right. That is the lineup builder. So if you don't want Crosby at all, you just go to centers. Like if you're stacking, let's say you're going 2 uniques, you're making 2 stacks like this, and you don't want any Pittsburgh 1, you're going to add all. You probably want to just X them out if you just don't want any exposure to them. That's what I would do. But I usually just let the projections do the work. I mean, I'm doing the work by making the projections, so want to trust them as much as possible. So yeah, you just X out Simone and Rust wherever he's at. I don't even see him in here. Whatever. We'll search for him. So that's what I would do. But we're going to go and check all of them. FanDuel Crunchers. Yeah, we could probably make that happen at the end. We've got at least another half an hour. NBA show tonight. There's a big NBA slate. So if you guys like this, you're definitely going to like our NBA content if you are into NBA. Even if you're not, we got a lot of good analysts. So I would stick around and watch that if I were you. I've been playing some NBA myself, just messing around with Cruncher because I have that ability. So if you are an NBA fan, if you want to get into NBA DFS, perfect way to start would be at 5 Eastern. I believe it's Laffy and Adam, and then Live Before Lock with Fast Eddie Fear and Chris Spags, I believe, is today. So you can find out on the public schedule that we send out in our email blast every day as well and see what shows are on. All right, so now that that's done, Predators, Avalanche, we've got probably Pekka Rinne going up against Semyon Varlamov. We'll get to that in a second, Sean. So some line changes for the Predators. Well, maybe not new line changes, but Kevin Fiala sticks on the top line. It looks like Victor Arvidsson is not ready. So it's going to be Fiala, as you see, with Johansson and Forsberg. A pretty nice spot for Fiala to be. I don't know what the Predators do with him. I don't know what he did to the coaches and managers. Like, he's just constantly getting thrown around on multiple lines. Just stick him with Turris and Smith or stick him on the top line. I don't know. But he's just too talented to not be in the lineup, to be healthy scratched. So there's my spiel on Kevin Fiala. I do like the Nashville top line. That's probably the only one I'm going to have a lot of exposure to on Nashville. Turris, Smith, and Yarncroc, I believe, have some decent numbers so far together, but I'm not really a huge fan of that line as it stands. I think Smith is the guy that I would look for. Gets power play one time, and you could pair him up with PK Subban if you're not going with full stacks. Colorado won. On the other side, I mean, I wrote about them in my Spotlight Stacks article this morning, just saying that you know what you're getting into as far as ownership. I say that all the time with them. It seems like every single time we've had a short slate, the last like 2 or 3 weeks, Colorado 1 is on it, and they're at home, and they're in a pretty good spot, and they're just clearly the best line. They're going to play like 22, 23, like maybe 24 minutes of ice time if this one sticks close. Glad I faded the New Jersey stack. Yeah, you know, they started off hot, but yeah. Did you cover the Pitt new PP lines. Yeah, I covered that. That's also in Nolan's article. I would guess they start off with the Mata, Malkin, Hornquist, Kessel line. That seems like it's the one that's more stacked. It just seems like they're trying to balance out the power plays. I don't know why that top unit, when they're all together, is just insanely good. So they may just scrap that and go back to the way it was. So wouldn't be shocked. All right. Colorado won. Their numbers, they aren't fantastic. You'd like to see them be much better at even strength, but maybe they just play so many minutes. They play top competition, kind of giving them a pass. They passed the eye test with flying colors. Yeah, just stacking the old power play. I think that is a decent way to go, Matt. I agree. They just look so good when you watch them. The numbers should add up. They had very good numbers last year at even strength, especially at home. They can go up against Johansson, Forsberg, and Fiala. I'm not super scared of that line defensively. It's Colorado 1, man. They're matchup proof. It's always frustrating when they're on short slates like this because you really have to take a stand if they're going to be 30% owned. I don't know that they'll get to 30% tonight. I'm seeing some more steam on Washington 1, on Calgary. So that's fair. I think that Colorado 1 is the highest projected stack of the night. So it's a good idea to have exposure if you are multi-entering. I'm going to have heavy exposure on them. And eating the likely chalk. I thought it was a lock they'd be chalk earlier this morning, but talking to some people and seeing what, other people around the industry are saying, maybe others are going to some other lines, and that's fine. But I don't think you're dumb for fading Colorado 1. It's not like they're going to be 5% or anything. But I think I'm making the stand that they're going to be in close to the majority of my lineups, meaning they're going to be in almost 50% of my lineups, or at least McKinnon is, depending on what kind of lineup construction I roll out. You can fit them in with almost any other stack outside of Calgary 1 and Washington 1. So, yeah, Colorado 1, great spot. Nothing bad to say about them once again, despite their somewhat lackluster numbers. On the other side, though, I do really like Johansson, Forsberg, Fiala if you're looking for a cheap line at lower ownership. And you might even be able to fit them together, now that I'm looking at it, if you double punt defenseman and punt goalie. Maybe that's something we could try later. As far as other stacks in this game, the second line for Colorado is fine. They're super cheap. I kind of like Matt Calvert here, power play 1 time, and 2,700. So if you are going with power play stacks tonight, he's a guy that makes Colorado 1 even more affordable. And he actually doesn't grade out as like a terrible skater on my model. Maybe it's just a small sample thing, using more of 2018 data. But yeah, I'm on the Matt Calvert train, if there is one, I suppose. 2,700 and correlates somewhat to the top line. That is pretty expensive. I don't like that they moved Sam Girard to the top power play now. He's cheap. He's 1K cheaper than Tyson Barrie. Barry's probably going to play a bunch at even strength with McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen, so it's not like you can't play him with them. But I guess Girard becomes the quote-unquote better value for 3,800. What are you LOLing at, Vot? Nashville is way too stingy. Oh, about Colorado 1, about the comment above. Nashville's way too stingy defensively, and they haven't done shit besides beat up on awful teams lately. Colorado 1 hasn't? Has their schedule been that soft? I don't remember it being that soft. I know they had the Ottawa explosion in there. Should we check on this? We got time. We can check on this. Colorado. So start off with the Wild, Blue Jackets, Flyers, Sabres, Flames, Rangers, Devils, Hurricanes, Flyers, Lightning. They crushed the Senators. Played the Wild, Flames, Canucks. I mean, okay. You can only play who's on your schedule, though. The Matt Calvert train. Yeah, all aboard. Oh, God. He's just cheap, really. McKinnon has 6 points in his last 5 games, 3 against Ottawa and 3 against Vancouver. That's it. That's fair. They're just going to see so many minutes that if Colorado does do any damage at all, it is likely to come from that line. So, near 3 implied total here. Or what are they at? 2.7. That's fine for me. If this game were outside of Colorado and, you know, they were still this expensive and they were going to be chalky, then yeah, I think you'd have a point in full fading Colorado 1 or something. But that's just not something I'm interested in doing tonight. I want to have very, very healthy amounts of Colorado 1 and be over the field. Defenseman here, again, once again, my guy is Roman Josi for 5,300. His price just refuses to go up. I like Ellis. His pairing there, 4,900 for Ellis. I think the double D stack is firmly in play for those guys. They stick together, obviously, at even strength. And the second power play unit, quote-unquote second power play unit, that unit, as Nolan mentioned in his line change article, is actually playing about half the time on the power play. So you can certainly power play stack the second unit if you wanted to go that route. Colorado plays better at home. They do. They do. I mean, most teams do. But, I mean, I just think they're the best line on the slate. They're one of the best lines in the league. So there are reasonable pivots off of them for sure. They're probably going to be the highest owned line of the night if I have this read correctly. If I don't, and they're not the highest owned line of the night, then sweet. I'm gonna go down with the ship though, or at least a lot of my lineups are. All right, goalies. We've got Rene and Varlamov. I don't know what else to say besides correlate. Nashville skaters are cheap, so you're going to be able to afford Rene if you are going to a Nashville stack. If you're going to Colorado, Varlamov is reasonably priced. Could see a bunch of shots here for Nashville. And it's not like you need a massive game for 7,500. And you just need a top 2 raw point scoring goalie if your lineup's going to compete in tournaments. If someone gets a shutout, that goalie's probably going to break the slate. I wish I could tell you who I thought was going to get a shutout tonight, because then I'd be rich. But I don't know that. So that's why I like to correlate, especially on short slates like this on DraftKings. All right. Am I missing anything else in that game? No, that's fine. Zadorov, I guess, if he's going to be skating with Tyson Barrie at 2,700, I don't hate him. Probably gets a little bit of a minutes boost because he was skating on the third pairing before. All right, last game of the night. We've got the Flames and the Ducks. Mike Smith going up against John Gibson. The Ducks have been a team I've targeted since basically the season started, since the end of last year. They've just had some terrible injuries. We've got some lines being mixed up. Thought it was super interesting that the Ducks rolled out Silfverberg with Getzlaf and Eves last night. Thought that would have been a pretty fun line to stack. I mean, Raquel with them doesn't hurt either. Getzlaf, Raquel, and Eves, this line has some very good data going back to 2016. Got to move on from these boring first 2 games to the hammer, right? Yeah. I don't really know what I want to do with this game, though. I like Getzlaf, Raquel, and Eves. I just don't know how good or how healthy Eves is going to be. So if I am going to a Ducks line, it would be the top one. But honestly, I don't know how much Ducks exposure I'm going to have. Their numbers were decent yesterday, I believe, but then again, it was the Kings. Yeah, the Ducks numbers, I expected them. They lost 4-1 on the road in LA. I mean, they had Getzlaf, they had Kessler, so it's not like they were without, their 2 top centers or anything. But, they did outchance the Ducks at even strength, so that was pretty impressive. They didn't just lay down. It wasn't just a a pure domination game by the Kings, which I was wrong about. I thought the Kings would dominate them at even strength, especially with their new line combos. So, top line for the Ducks is the one that I'm targeting. Ducks defensemen almost never do it for me. Fowler's the guy that's the most expensive, that does get the power play time, that sees the big minutes, and he's 5,400. I think that's a fair price. I think he's pretty easy to fit in if you do go with Anaheim 1. I didn't see that third line, how it's currently constructed. Henrique with Silverberg and Pontus Aberg. Did that line get put together this morning, or did they go to that last night at some point during the game? Because I actually don't hate them. I don't consider that the third line. I consider Kessler, Cogliano, Gibbons the third line. But yeah, all those guys get power play time. Henrique, Silverberg, both on the top unit. I just like Silverberg whenever he's going to be super low owned and on these shorter slates. He does look to shoot more, especially when there are injuries. I wish he would shoot more when Getzlaf and Kessler do play, but it's probably more of a minutes thing than anything. Just give me the James Neal special, baby. Yeah, we're getting there. We are getting there. So I actually misspoke. I shouldn't have said that Anaheim 1 is the only stack I'm targeting on the Ducks. I do like the quote-unquote third line, the Henrique line. If you're looking for a filler stack, that one probably fits in pretty nicely with Colorado 1 or a Washington or Pittsburgh power play stack. As you can tell, I haven't done a ton of lineup construction stuff just yet. I wanted to figure that out with you guys. So we'll do that in just a second. Other defensemen on the Ducks, really, it's just going to be if they end up in my lineup on the crunch, honestly. Welinski is fine skating on the top pairing, but no power play time. Lindholm at 4,600 is just whatever. Same with Montour at 3,600 on that third pairing. So I'm ready to be done talking about the Ducks here. Flames, I think they could be sneaky chalk here. Frolik played 5 minutes with Tkachuk and Backlund in the last game. Is Neal for sure locked in on line 2? Certainly a question that should be asked. No one's locked into a line, right? Any coach can make an adjustment at any time during the game, however they feel. If they feel like a line's not clicking or whatever, you just never know. So, yeah, Tkachuk, Frolik, and Backlund is a familiar trio. If they start off bad, if they get down 2-0, and that line gives up a goal or two, all of a sudden, Frolik might find himself back up there. But Neal is super, super cheap. 3,400. It's against the Ducks, who, despite what they did last night, they were solid at even strength. They do still commit a ton of penalties. All the top 6 on Calgary gets power play time as well. And they're kind of a tough line to avoid for their prices. I like Kachuk's price of 5,600. I think that's fair. The guy's price, who I think is overpriced, is Lindholm, but he does play with Gaudreau, Monahan, and Giordano all on the power play. So I guess it is somewhat warranted, even if I think it's kind of a reactionary price based on his results. Calgary 1 is probably going to match up against Getzlaf, Raquel, and Eves. Don't really love that matchup for Calgary 1, if that is going to be the case, if Eves is healthy. So there's just kind of a lot of unknowns here. The Ducks being on the back-to-back doesn't really help either. So, yeah, at 3,400, if they do move Neal, I don't think it would kill you. Right, and he does still play on the power play. He's been doing that for a while now. So you're just getting very good correlation on that second line regardless, or more correlation than you would get if Frolik was there instead of Neal. All right, what else should we talk about in this game? Oh, Giordano. He's the clear guy on defense for me. He's going to end up in a ton of my lineups. Any lineup that has Calgary skaters is likely going to have Giordano in there. He just grades out so much better than any of these other guys. And I like to correlate my defensemen with my forwards as much as possible. So 5,700, I think that's a fine price. And I will be going there early and often, especially with that second line. I can already see how my crunches are going to come up with Backlund, Tkachuk, and Neal. he correlates to Kachuk on the top power play. So just seems like a real nice setup there for Giordano, no matter which of the top two lines you're stacking. Hannafin is 3,700. I actually don't mind that price. I don't think Hannafin's terrible. Prefer him over Brody and Travis Hamonic, who are both near his price range. So I would like to get up to Hannafin if I'm going away from Giordano for 2K less. Montour, Lindholm. Oh, man. I hate these Ducks defensemen, as I've said. Like, if I'm going to another Ducks defenseman, like, might as well just punt with Walensky. But if you have the 4,600, I suppose Lindholm does have a floor because first of all, he's got power play time. He blocks shots. Doesn't really shoot it a ton. And he's probably going to see more minutes than Montour, who also doesn't shoot it a ton. All right. This one's a barn burner. I don't really have anything on the goalies besides that I would expect Ryan Miller to start. That is a downgrade for the Ducks, an upgrade for the Flames. We always mention that Gibson is one of the best goalies in the NHL. And Ryan Miller, serviceable backup for sure. Maybe even an above-average backup, but a backup nonetheless. So you give teams a boost when they're not going to see John Gibson and they're going to see Ryan Miller. It's just how it goes. All right. Let's do a fun thing on a 3-game slate. I like talking about the games. I think it's fine, but more on bigger slates, and especially with spots with ownership. On 3-game slates, everyone's going to have ownership, so I think the more interesting thing to talk about is the lineup construction. And people in chat, got a bunch of you in here. Bigger crowd than I would expect on a 3-game slate, so thanks for showing up, guys. We do this show at 4 Eastern pretty much every day, Monday through Friday. We're going to try to get some Saturday shows for you guys as well in the hopefully starting this Saturday. But there will be some Saturday content. There's always written content. My projections are up every single day, Monday through Sunday. So you can get that if you are a premium member. Slack chat is always a good resource. You can get that for free. Promo code Hit the Ice. I've mentioned it like 50 times, but you guys still should sign up if you have not. Hit the Ice. No spaces. You get Osmo's rankings, my projections, Fantasy Cruncher. You get the lineup builder. So you get to try that out for a week. And I think that's pretty valuable. So try it out for a week. If you don't like it, you don't have to re-up. If you do like it, I think you will, then stick around and stay in Slack forever. Love to have you. All right, so lineup construction. I like talking through the slate because then we can see what are some ways we can get different. And the first thing I wanted to try to do was see if we can Washington power play stack. At least get most of it, maybe 4 out of the 5. So the way I would like to do this, Carlson at 5,900. I didn't realize how cheap he was. I mean, 5,900 is not cheap for a defenseman, but in a good spot for John Carlson. It's, I think, a few $100 underpriced a little bit. Ownership never makes sense for Ducks D either. Fowler was 8% on the 3-gamer the other night. Was that Sunday? Or what day was the 3-gamer? Ownership in NHL is really tough to figure out. Not on lines, on defensemen and single players. A lot of people's cash lineups are put in tournaments. So, yeah, when he had the hat trick. Yeah, our buddy, I don't know if he's in here right now, but Corsi, he binked that night with the old Cam Fowler hat trick. So that was pretty exciting. Yeah, he was low owned. Cam Fowler hattie. You don't hear that too often. You don't see many defensemen getting hat tricks. But yeah, hat tip to you, Corsi, if you are in here. All right, Washington stack. Yeah, I had Fowler. I had 5th with Fowler and VC. Didn't VC have a 2-goal night there? I thought VC did some damage that night. Especially Cam Fowler, yeah. I mean, he's not Brent Burns. He's not going to be chucking it every single time he gets the puck at the point. I almost said top of the key there. That would have been a big mistake, and I don't know why I told you guys all that, but I guess my mind's on basketball, right? So Kessel and Gensel are so expensive, and both on the third line should suppress their ownership a lot, even though pretty solid matchups seeing the third and fourth of Washington. Yeah, there's no power play correlation for that line. I don't love them at even strength, even though they are somewhat high event. I think the Eller-Burakovsky combo is solid possession-wise with Connolly in there. So they're not a line I want to attack with much. They're just not a line I want to attack that much. So don't really love their even strength matchup. And then, as I said, the power play isn't great as far as correlation goes. All right, so let's see what we can do here. We can probably go. Can you go Calgary 2 here? Oh, yeah, you can definitely do this. So you can go 4 out of the 5 Washington 1 power play stack. And then you just going to have to mega punt there. Maybe not even mega punt. I mean, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. You shouldn't be able to fit that in. Calgary 2 does open up quite a bit. Look at that lineup we just made. There's your GPP winner. What else can we do? If people in chat want to see something, feel free to shout out ideas. How about this Pittsburgh? Let's stack the top unit. No Sidney Crosby or Chris Letang in the top unit is a little bit funny. So you go Malkin, Hornquist, Kessel, Mata. Can you fit Nashville 1 in Colorado? Yeah, we'll try that in a second. This is the Wednesday night rivalry night game. It just has to be. Pittsburgh and Washington. That's going to be a nationally televised game. If you're into that sort of thing, if you don't have NHL center ice, you can do this very comfortably. You can do this, I'm sure. Ooh, no, you can't do that. You can do that very comfortably. Wow. Pretty cheap, all in all, now that I'm looking at that. What was the Colorado 1 and Nashville 1. Let's try this out. Oops. Got Kessel in there. Forsberg. So if we double punt, we go Zadorov in there. Oh yeah, we don't even need a double punt. We can just pick your favorite guy in the $3,500 range or so, and then we'll just plug in whichever goalie we want. You can go Jack Johnson on the top pairing with good old Chris Letang. Wrap this up for the deeper dive, Jake. I'll miss hearing you on baseball shows. Yeah, I don't miss baseball right now. Once I have a bad stretch in like end of February, I'll be itching for some baseball. But for right now, I'm still pumped. It feels like NHL season started like yesterday. I don't know. I'm still really pumped about NHL season. And I mean, I had a good month too, so can't complain at all. I'm coming off a good late slate. Been trying to get into these 2-game slates on the later ones and just getting unique lineup constructions. I'm seeing a lot of 4-3-1, which is fine, I think, on bigger slates, but on like 2 and 3 gamers, I think I would just try to get away from that as much as possible. Yeah, that's the thing. I get it. Yeah, Marino for life. I do recognize you, Marino for life. I recognize your username. Mata ownership will be through the roof tonight. I mean, yeah, I think he will. Just having that PP1 tag, I I would caution against going crazy on Mata, though. He is still on the third pairing. Pittsburgh has switched a ton of stuff up. And like I said, and I think Matt mentioned it too, it's just, you never know. I mean, they could literally just throw their best 5 power play skaters back on the power play. They could just go Crosby, Malkin, Hornquist, Kessel, and Letang. That wouldn't shock anyone. So I'd be careful about going too crazy on Mata. Will you be doing anything else after hockey? What do you mean? Baseball. Hockey and baseball season overlap on both sides, which is real nice. So I get to do that year round. As long as they don't fire me. All right, what was I going to do? Oh, yeah, FanDuel crunches, and then we will get out of here. We'll give some room to the baseball. Now I got baseball on the mind. I had basketball on the mind earlier. Baseball now. We'll give some room to the NBA guys. Big slate, as I said. Are we on FanDuel, someone wanted? Yeah. You can give us a like while you're waiting for this. If you so choose, it would help us out and help us continue to do this for free. I know you guys like free. So do I. But need to get some viewership, need to get some likes. And your like would be greatly appreciated. All right. So this is just pretty standard for FanDuel. I think, like I said, I don't play a ton over there. But let's do 20% randomness. I don't have my projections in there. All right, let me do this the right way. So 55,000, we'll do short slate. You can certainly leave some salary on the table and have a very good looking lineup on either site. I like that as a way to differentiate correlation and kind of throw salary out the window to a certain extent. There's obviously a balance with that. But leaving 2K on the table, I don't think is a dumb thing to do on a 3-game slate. If you're not going to Colorado 1 or who's the other, Washington power play stack or something like that. All right, so let's crunch let's do 50. Is there anything specific you wanted to see? Whoever was asking for the FanDuel crunches, a certain stack. Looks like Fantasy Cruncher really likes Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, and Yaskin. Man, so you can fit that. This one. You can fit that. That's you've got Washington 1 with Carlson. Okay, Yaskin in there, but he's min salary. So sure. My favorite Pittsburgh line in a 6.5 total game, the highest on the night, with a goalie, who is serviceable against a team that, they don't have a ton of firepower, the Flames. So yeah, it's pretty crazy that you can fit that on FanDuel. Min salary, defenseman, you can switch him out for Zadorov, the enormous human being that he is. Let's see, what else is interesting down here? A lot of Pittsburgh. Let's do this. Let's do Pittsburgh-Washington game stacks. I mean, these are just even strength lines, too. You could probably get a little bit more creative by doing power play stacks. In fact, let me try that. So to do a power play stack, let's just go like this, make it easy. We'll go any PP unit, got to click on defenseman so that it does add in that top power play quarterback, and then we'll get an even strength line. I know Steve does this quite a bit on shorter slates. So you get those broken power play stacks, hope to catch lightning in a bottle. Sullivan remained non-committal on the split power plays and whether he would stick with the same configuration for a game Wednesday night in Washington against the Capitals. Yeah, I mean, I don't put too much stock in the power play units. Just play the best players. And if you're worried about that, play Malkin and Hornquist. Play that duo because they're almost always on the power play together and they're going to be at even strength together. Do you hesitate to stack Crosby versus the Kuznetsov lines and Malkin versus the Backstrom lines because of hard matching? Kind of negative correlation there because they share the ice, right? I mean, probably normally I would say yes, but especially with the Malkin and Backstrom lines, I don't know. They're both huge parts of the power play. These two teams have very good power plays, and I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about it on a 3-game slate. So, especially if the lines trade chances like the Malkin line does, and like some forms of the Backstrom line has so far this season. So, against the Backlund line, if they were at home, I'd probably avoid it. But yeah, this slate, I wouldn't worry about that too much. Just let the optimizer take care of it if you are going that route. Sign up for a free trial. Promo code hit the ice. Yeah, someone posted that using the osmo.com handle. Do that. I'm going to get out of here. We've got a couple more minutes for the NBA guys, so we're going to let them get on here. Big, I believe it's 10 games for NBA, so watch them. Laffy and Adam, watch live before lock. I'll be back tomorrow with Steve for the big Thursday slate. We've got a decent Friday slate as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you at the top of the leaderboards.